water is such a simple yet a powerful gift for our health. All right, so I would advise you to, drink enough water today so that you will be hydrated throughout the day. Now we're turning our attention to something that will interest all of us, something that concerns us or touches all of us. We're going to talk about our finances. And guess what? We have someone who is a chartered accountant, a seasoned finance and investment analyst. Okay, she has been in this industry, the banking industry, for over 15 years. So she has all it takes to talk to us about financial confidence for everyday Nigerians. Please join me as I welcome Mora Ehimoyan. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining.
you for
I
having
was
me.
being careful with the name.
You got it right.
I got it. Oh,
Yes,
thank
yes,
you
you
so
did.
much. So thank you for joining us
It's a
on Good
pleasure.
Morning
It's a
Abuja.
pleasure to be here.
Wow. So 15 years.
Yes,
banking.
over 15 years.
Over 15 years.
Yeah.
So you have all it takes to talk to us about financial confidence for everyday Nigerians. So when we say financial confidence,
Yes.
for an average Nigerian, what does it mean? Because you'll be wondering, what do you mean by financial confidence? So what does it mean?
Absolutely. I agree. So for most people, when you say financial confidence, what comes to mind is how much money I have. Because how much money I have should boost my confidence, isn't it? But that is not it. Financial confidence is not about how rich you are. It's about you being able to control the money that you have. So it's that feeling of, knowing where your money goes to, spending intentionally, and building steps that would help you grow financially. So it's like, you being able to rely on yourself to take good financial decisions. And when we're talking about financial confidence, it's very important that we look at the key aspects of financial confidence. There are about 4 components. So one of them is financial knowledge. So the money that comes to you, how informed are you about money? Then financial planning as well. So in financial planning, do you budget? Do you know, if I ask you now, what is the percentage of your earnings that goes to your essentials or food? Can you tell me? That kind of thing. And then you now have financial discipline. So even if you have a budget, how are you disciplined enough to go through that budget, to actually execute that budget the way you planned it? And then financial resilience. Are you able to look at something you can afford and say, no, this is not necessary now. Let me wait later and I'll get it when I have fully planned for it. So that's what's up. So you can see that from these elements I've spoken about, that financial confidence is not necessarily about how much money you have in your pocket, right?
Yeah.
It's about how you're able to control that money. So for instance, you're a petty trader on the roadside and let's say you make 40 to 50K a week, but you're able to plan, you know how much, you have financial knowledge about the money that comes to you, and you're able to plan. You are more financially confident than someone that earns in millions but cannot account for how their money is being spent.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria, how can families budget without being overwhelmed?
Yes, that's a very important question because we know that inflation is about 22.2% thereabout, and salaries are not moving at the same pace with rising prices, right? So how do you do? So I always say you should prioritize. Prioritize your essentials. What are your essentials? Those things that are necessary for your survival, right? Those things are necessary for your survival. So as a family or as an individual, you look at how much comes into your home. So how much income do you have? How much expenses? And what portion of that expenses is essential? There are some expenses that are not essential. For instance, you cannot be thinking about buying asoebi for somebody else's wedding when you've not filled your store with foodstuff that will take you for the month, right? Yes, you cannot be doing that. So there's a very simple budgeting rule: 50, 30, 20. So 50% of your income. Let's say, for instance, a family's total income in a month is, let's say, 500,000. So 250 will be assigned to your essentials: rent, food. Those things are important, right? Then the basics, absolutely, the basics. Then 30% cannot be your wants. So that budgeting doesn't feel like it's a restriction or is a punishment that, okay, I'm just here saving, just living life. Yeah, I mean, just living as if I'm under bondage. So as a couple, if you do something like, okay, every month we go out as a couple to just work on our relationship, you budget for that. you put it inside your budget. Okay, there's a party, my son is turning 5 or 10, or I need to do a small party for him. If you can afford it, budget. So those are under your wants because they're not really essential for your survival, right? And then the 20% should, so you have 50, 30. 20 will now go to your savings and your investment. So that's where you, and then this is not cast on stone. It's something that you have to also include your reality inside. So I can be able to do maybe 50, 30 based on what I earn and my family earns. But you look at what works for you. The thing is consistency. You're not going to achieve 100% budget in a month. You will not. I mean, if you don't meet 100%, at least try. So it's steps, little steps that build up. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon, right? It's a marathon. And then for families that are really struggling, look at substitute products.
Look at those common
Okay.
money mistakes
That people make, right?
And how can we work on them?
I think number one is living above your means. I see that a lot of people, like when people come to me and they ask me questions, let's say you earn 250,000, right? It's ideal that you're supposed to live within that 250,000. You shouldn't borrow for luxury. You shouldn't borrow to travel, except you're borrowing for an asset that is going to give you value. I personally believe that you don't have any reason to borrow, except if it's an emergency and you need to sort yourself. So you should live within your means.
So indirectly saying that anything that you cannot obtain within that, what you have,
yes,
you shouldn't just go outside.
Yes, you shouldn't live. And then we don't keep emergency funds. Like there was someone I was talking to about emergency funds. They are not really praying for anything bad to happen. No, you're not. Emergency fund is not for you. It's not that you're praying. It's just that you're planning. It's part of building that financial confidence, right? So you plan with you start saving for your emergency funds. Your emergency funds should be able to cover at least 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. So if your living expenses is 100,000, your emergency fund should be within 300 to 600,000. So that when you budget, right, and something that is not in your common list of expenses, something unusual happens, you have a fund that you can quickly go and address that situation. Because if you don't have a fund, you're still going to go back to that budget to what you have, and then you end up not meeting. And then so it's a safety net basically, the emergency fund. And another thing I think people do is they fall for this get quick Ponzi schemes. Right? So somebody comes and tells you that you're going to make 100%, 200% on an amount that you paid. You should ask yourself, if that person can really make that money, why is he even telling you? Yes, and then why do you have to bring somebody and somebody and somebody and somebody? So don't invest in something you don't understand. And if you really think that you want to invest, then seek expert opinion.
We'll continue.
Yeah.